We want to open with a short meditation. We're going to speak a little bit about the context of what we want to do today, and we want to do a constellation for all of you to give everybody an opportunity to stand in the field for yourself in relationship to the pandemic and to your own life and purpose. But let's start. We'll close our eyes and we'll do a little bit of a guided meditation to begin.
Just as you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, just feel the soles of your feet on the earth beneath you, and the crown of your head pointing to the sky. Just allow yourself to just drop into the center of your heart. Just keep breathing in and breathing out. Welcoming your consciousness, your soul, this body that is your temple of being. Just welcoming it to be present on this call.
We're all physically in isolation today. We have people in Australia, in New Zealand, throughout the United States, South America, Europe, Asia, and Africa are all represented by the people that registered for the call. We created a meeting room that had space for everyone. We wanted to create a room where everyone who wanted to come and be together could temporarily come out of their space of isolation and be with each other. And be in the bigger field of consciousness that's not broadcast on TV, that's not on the news ordinarily, but that connects us through our hearts and our minds. And as in so many things in life, when we set an intention, we're met by the polarity. And the first thing that we confronted is there's not enough room. There's not enough spaces. Just as what's driving these quarantines is that there's not enough medical care. There's not enough equipment and beds for the people getting sick. So we're right from the start in the condition that we're here to deal with. And rather randomly, some people are in the room right now and some people are unable to get in. And we're all well-meaning. We all want everyone to be here and to be included. And we're dependent on technology and much bigger systems that none of us can control. And the uncertainty brings in fear. And the isolation brings in grief. And the difficulty that we have being dominated and controlled by systems. It brings in anger. And coming together like this and opening our hearts and our minds and connecting brings in love. And that's what we're all here for.
You take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And just feel the role that you were inside of at the beginning of this call. Well, we've already been in a constellation. Were you someone supporting the facilitators to stay calm? Were you someone sharing with your loved ones, friends, family, the new link? Were you late and just found the link and arrived here? Was there an impatience growing inside? Is there a concern around time, where you need to be? Perhaps you're someone listening to this recording who was on the call, switched rooms to make room for others, and lost access. And in some ways, it resembles losing access to the ventilator that's needed, losing access to the mask, the gloves, the information, the medicine. Life force, losing access to life force, to breath, to air. Each one of us on this call and each one of us listening to the recording who intended to be on the call as part of this constellation. And we welcome you. We welcome your ancestors. We welcome your soul. We welcome your evolutionary life purpose. Why you're here, and what you're here to do, to be, to become. As you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, it's dropping deeper into your body. You can just feel the questions alive in your heart. Questions alive in the mystery of the collective. And of this pandemic experience in 2020. I invite you to just, from the center of your heart, create an intention. For those present, really feeling what is the intention that you wish to walk away manifested by the end of the call. What are you seeking? For those listening to the recording, you are live with us in this timeless space. Also drop into an intention. Your future intentions influence our present experience. In this last moment, we just welcome you to open the back doors of your heart and welcome your ancestors. Who's here with you on this call? Who's experienced something like this in prior generations? Whose wisdom is available to you? Whose panic is felt in every pulse of your heart? Invite them to be a part of our journey together. Just coming back to your heart, taking another deep breath in and out. And as you feel ready, beginning to flicker your eyes open and wiggle your toes and come back to the space. Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit, just to give some context for the work that Emily and I are doing, that we've been doing for many years together. And I know in the work that, many of you are doing as well. And how we can, come together now and in the future to understand what's happening and to be able to respond to it from a place of more strength and resource. There was a night last summer in July where I was out quite late at night in the moonlight, one of those warm July nights where I don't wear a hoodie, which is unusual for me if you know me. And we were in a really beautiful house. It was on a field of goldenrod. And the goldenrod was home to monarch butterflies, many, many of them, hundreds of monarch butterflies. It was really a beautiful spot, quite exquisite, quite lovely in a warm summer night. And it just really felt so peaceful and beautiful. And I stood out there at the edge of the lawn and with the in front of this sea of goldenrod, and at that point most of the butterflies were sleeping, but I had seen them during the afternoon. And I just was meditating on the scene, and I felt a message coming to me from the spirit of the earth, from the plants and the animals. And what they made aware for me is that the monarch butterflies had been driven to near extinction by human encroachment. That this place that I was standing was a very expensive piece of land. It was a costly piece of land, someone's summer house. And it was costly just because there was the land there that was undeveloped, that hadn't been plowed under and planted with houses or roadways. And there's fewer and fewer of those places left on Earth, fewer places for the monarchs to be able to feed in the Northern Hemisphere. And so actually it was so beautiful and tranquil, but the message that came to me is that it's becoming exceedingly rare, much too rare, and only a place for the wealthy can plant their little summer homes and be able to enjoy the expanse of the goldenrod field. But for most people, plants and animals and humans, those spaces have disappeared and they continue to disappear. And there was a warning that came with it that this can't continue for much longer, that there will be a point that the goldenrod and the butterflies, the plants and animals are going to come and they're going to reclaim the planet from the humans. That the humans have just been a real pestilence for everything else that lives. And once again, kind of pleading with the humans to be less destructive in the way that we occupy the planet. Because the Earth has been here for billions of years. It'll be here for billions of years more. It doesn't need the humans. The humans need the Earth. And just in the last 2 weeks, this virus that has lived inside these little creatures, who knows where it comes from exactly, but it seems to be from bats in these dark caves in China and from these prehistoric 80-million-year-old animals, pangolins, these scaly little miniature mammal dinosaurs. And they've been living with this virus in them. It's symbiotic in those animals. It's not a disease virus. It's a symbiotic virus in them. but it's been unleashed into the human environment. And now everywhere in the world, people are locked in their houses. We're afraid to breathe on each other, which is really the most restrictive type of stealing of our humanity, is that you're afraid to walk past a person on the sidewalk because they might breathe on you and kill you. So this little microscopic life form has come for us. And here we are in this group of 100 of us here on this platform right now, and whoever, there was another 150 that registered that haven't been able to get on. And we're all coming here together to try to find some strength and some resource and some insight and some understanding of how are we going to answer the call of this situation? What are we going to do about it? How are we going to stand in our lives and be present to what is happening? And we're here, Emily and I are here to support that, to come with questions of how to do it and spend some time together to drop into the field and look for some insight.
I first want to thank all of you for coming and for being present on this call, for the scurry that we went through in the beginning, for the willingness to ask these questions and to stand in this space and to do this work. We were overwhelmed with just the response to the initial call, and also just the emails, the messages, the ways that people are, the texts that we're receiving that are with regard to, what is the greater meaning here? That the main question everyone's asking is, how can I calm my body? How do I calm the mental distractions that are showing up in my life? How do I begin to become a clearer and channel of consciousness and this conduit that can wake up to these larger messages and be in service, and yet also be centered in ourselves. So I'm just, and have a great appreciation for all that are with us tonight and where we're going to go together. For myself, I set the intention in January. My 2020, I kind of started actually at Samhain in October, November 1st. But I kind of seeded the intention then, but I really committed to it in January, that I wished I was going to change the paradigm of reality from Newtonian to quantum in 2020 and in that decade. That was like my goal. And 3 months, and I had the whole plan of like how to go about it and what I thought might be the way to begin shifting that paradigm and that consciousness. And 3 months later, here we are, like bumped out of Zoom, looking at the call of the earth in a big way. So it feels like an invitation, and it also, it's feeling also like really debilitating in many ways. The fear response, everything I'm starting, I'm not finishing. It's like the amount of distraction that is alive in the field around us is profound. So that just to be with myself, my own personal consciousness, before I can kind of work at changing the paradigm, it's kind of a wild, chaotic spiral right now. And yet it feels like we're all together for this reason in many ways. How can we join together? How we're seeing more human and heart connection on our own street in Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island, just among our neighbors than we've seen since we moved in. There's just this, people are waking up, reaching out, listening, slowing down. The pollution rates are going down across the world. Animals are finding their way back into a place of integration, feeling safer. The sky is clearer. There's silver lining to this, and yet we're a couple weeks away from, at least in New England, we're a couple weeks away from a lot of deaths. Daniel 4, we read one of his posts, and he's got this course called Bring Out the Dead, and he's really wanting to prepare people for holding space for the unresolved death that we're going to be experiencing, the haunting energy of those that die and those that what they feel around those that are dying. we're a few weeks away from that. And we spoke with colleagues in China and what they're experiencing. We thought we had, quite a bit, 250 people on a call, and our colleague Feng had 10,000 people on a constellations call, signing up, coping with systemic trauma and how to respond to the questions around how this is impacting the community at large and those that are in deep grief and fear responses. So I think we want to move right into the exercises, but we could talk more, but there's, we had some exercises and constellating that we wanted to do, and we spent the first half hour navigating the Zoom platform. I really feel we are getting like pop-up screens and texts, and there's like incredible amount of people trying to get in. So I just really want to just take a minute to welcome them into our constellation. I did that in the meditation, but I just want to welcome the representatives that can't get in, that are part of our field. So if we could all just take a minute to just acknowledge them and just create a screen on this screen for those that want to be here but can't get in. Thanks, everyone.
So let's set up the exercise.
I think so, yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to do a blind constellation that will include, of course, audience participation. And we just want to give everybody an opportunity to have a constellation experience with us. So, normally Emily and I work with groups. We've worked with groups of up to 80 people live. And normally we're working with groups of anywhere between 15 and 30 people. So a group this large is something new for us, and also working a group this large and this platform is new for us.
It doesn't work. The way to do this, we're going to have to change the whole thing. It only assigns, you can only divide the whole group. You can't just take 20 people out.
Hey,
If
you
you
should
do,
be able to create a breakout group where you do it manually. So look, there should be a button for automatic and there should be a button for manual.
and then do one room.
Yeah, but when you do that.
Yeah.
We knew that we
it'll
would
work. And then
assign 99 participants to one.
Yeah, but you get to pick them manually, so you can open that room. So you can.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll have a list of the people you want to put in it.
Yep, and it'll say assign in the upper right-hand corner, and then a drop-down list with little radio buttons will open, and you can just click whoever you want in that room.
Thanks, Elise.
You're welcome. I love
I think
you.
you made it on here.
I did.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so we had asked some people in advance if you can just click the little box there. We had asked some people in advance. I don't know if everybody that we asked is going to be here, but we'll see.
So we had asked people in advance because we thought people are going to be really nervous about doing blind representation in front of 250 people. So that's why we asked just like in the last half hour. So we are going to put some of the people that said yes. Why don't you explain how this is going to go?
Okay. So what we're going to do is we have, I think, 13 representations. So 13 people we're going to take out of the main room, and they are going to go into, like they used to have on game shows, the soundproof room. And while they're in that soundproof room, we are going to tell you what they're going to be representing, and we're going to assign numbers to each representation. Then we're going to invite the people back in, and we're going to ask them to pick a number, and they will represent that number, 1 through 13, but they won't know what it is associated with, but everybody else will know. And then everybody will turn their cameras off except for those 13 people. So we'll then have only the 13 people represented will all congregate on the first screen. So you'll just be able to see those, and all the other cameras will go blank. And then we'll constellate. And we have, we've kind of thought of some ideas of how to do that. And that'll be the constellation, and then we'll complete the constellation at a certain point, and we'll come back and do a closing.
I don't think I have enough.
So Scott's out because he doesn't have a webcam.
Okay.
So we need some more people, right?
Possibly, unless I'm seeing. If they didn't respond, I might just assume they're in.
So
Count how many are there?
no, I don't know how can I? Oh, here's one. Two,
Yeah.
4,
Raise
6.
your hand.
Well, I can't. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11.
Need 2 more.
People are volunteering. We're down here.
Oh, here we
You can
go.
see there's some volunteers.
I think I just did. I think 12. I need 1 more. Janine, I think just did. That's 13.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13. Okay. Okay, so we're going to open the room. And so if you're on that list of the 13, you will see a invitation to join the room, and you can go into it. And then we'll share the presentations with everybody else.
So this is actually, I didn't quite said. Let's see if I can figure out how to mute all these.
Manage participants.
Well,
Continue.
so we're going to be doing a constellation for you. Did you already say that?
I explained it.
You will be representing yourself, and
Oh, I didn't explain that.
yeah, we're going to have you, as we set up these reps and have them come back in, we're going to ask you to turn off your videos so that we will only see the videos of the people that are representing. And then you're going to stand and you'll represent yourself, and you'll step back and represent your ancestors, and we'll work with your soul as well. So what I would ask is not to toggle between like text and Facebook. If there's something about being on Zoom that it makes it really easy to kind of respond to all the distractions. And in the field of pandemic panic, that's like our natural direction. So just if you can, because as if you're in the room with us and constellating, really commit that you're going to receive something from this process, and try to kind of tune out all the distractions that come in during the constellation.
Okay, so here are the
Ready?
yeah. So we're going to hold up a list. If you can you read this?
I'm just gonna read it to them.
Well, I thought you wanted people to be able to take a photograph on the
Oh,
phone.
well, that was when I was going to be able to share my screen, but I can't log in. Can you see this? I don't think you can see this, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So the
So
platform for doing that is not possible.
Okay, so you can write these down then.
So number 1 is the message from the earth and plant consciousness.
People are not prepared to write down, but take a moment. We'll read them again. So we'll go through them now, and then we'll go through them a second time.
Number 1 is the message from the earth and plant consciousness.
How about, can you just copy and paste in the
Oh,
chat?
I don't think we should put it in the chat because they can look at the chat.
Okay, thanks.
Number 2 is you, every person on this call. Number 3 is the pandemic, the global impact of the virus on humans. Number 4 is the coronavirus. Number 5 is animals, the pangolin, the bat, other species. Number 6 is your ancestors. Number 7 is people you love who will die from the pandemic. Number 8 is what is needed for human evolutionary survival. Number 9 is your life path and soul purpose.
Emily, can you slow down just a little bit?
Yep.
I've lost you at 7.
7 is people you love who will die from the pandemic.
Okay.
8 is what is needed for human evolutionary survival. 9 is your life path and soul purpose. 10 is humans as predators, conquerors, colonizers, patriarchs, destroyers. I'll do that again. Humans as predators, conquerors, colonizers, patriarchs, destroyers, etc. 11 is fear. 12 is love. 13 is great all-knowing spirit. So once more, the message from the earth and plant consciousness.
Number 1.
Number 1. Number 2 is you, every person on this call. And it's not our collective, it's really you. Number 3 is the pandemic, the global impact of the virus on humans. Number 4 is the coronavirus. Number 5 is animals, pangolin, bat, and other species. 6 is ancestors, your ancestors. 7 is people you love who will die from the pandemic. 8 is what is needed for human evolutionary survival. 9 is your life path and soul purpose. 10 is humans as predators, conquerors, colonizers, patriarchs, destroyers, etc. 11 is fear. 12 is love. 13 is great all-knowing spirit.
Okay. So we are going to close the breakout room, bring everybody back in. When you are representing, so when you look at, say, the representative number 7, people you love who will die from the pandemic, be in relationship with that representative as if those are your people. Not that you're observing as a third person from outside, but that you're actually in the constellation. And all of these. This is an exercise to, create a group constellation with all these people and give each one of us an opportunity to actually be in the constellation with these reps, not to simply sit in the circle and observe.
So we're gonna invite them back in. We're gonna offer some instructions for them. We're gonna offer a little bit of a context of a blind constellation. For those, if you didn't do that, did you do that when you were explaining things? Maybe not. Okay.
Just that they won't know what they're representing. I explained that.
Perfect. So I'll offer a little context and then invite you to stand. We find that the constellation works more effectively if you stand than if you sit. And we also recommend that you click on the full screen in the top right corner so you can see all the reps. If it's possible to go up to the top right and look at full, like make your screen because a full screen, and if you're on a tablet or an iPhone, you might need to swipe left, and then you'll see all the images of the people.
Right, and you also want to be in gallery mode, not speaker view, so that you can see all like a Brady Bunch kind of view.
Do we want to put ourselves off video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and then you'll all turn your cameras off. You can start doing that. And we're going to close the breakout room. Oh, the things are coming out.
So if everyone can turn their videos off, perfect.
Except for the people representing.
Thank you to everyone who's helping us offer instructions.
Okay, I think you can close that. And now this was all
Is there a
supposed
way to see all the representatives on one screen rather than having to scroll to different screens to see them?
that was supposed to happen,
supposed to happen when you turn your video off.
but it looks like they're all on screen too.
They're all on screen too, it seems.
But I
Oddly,
think
but that's okay. They're all, can you see them all on screen too?
Yes, thank you.
For me, they're on screen one.
Except they're, Riva, I don't think you would be, if I did stop video.
Yeah.
Does that do anything?
Mhm.
Okay. And then Lynn, let me see if I can stop her video. I think this is everybody. Okay, I think you're all here. So we would have you each pick, I think Michael is representing, but Marie is not. Is that right? So we would just you're working, maybe Marie, I might have you step out, like step over a little bit, just so you can still see the screen, but they don't see you. Yeah.
I'm just seeing 12 representatives, by the way. Is anyone else just seeing 12? Aren't there 13?
I haven't wanted to say much, but there's people, I can see people that weren't part of the breakout, and it's bothering me.
Yeah, I think everybody's video is off.
Mhm.
From what we can see.
Mhm.
But we're missing somebody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13. Okay, so we have you each pick a number. And we have to unmute yourself.
So you're going to pick a number from 1 to 13, and we'll just take them first come, first serve.
Margaret Curry,
One.
13.
Mandy's 1.
I'll
Five.
take 4, 2.
I'll take 8.
7.
Was Monica representing?
I don't know who Monica is.
Okay.
Fine.
Kay, you're 4.
Yes.
Did somebody choose 13 already?
I already know how to rename yourself. Rename yourself your number.
Trudy is 3. Talus is 7.
Monica, can you turn your camera off?
Anisa, what's your number?
5.
Anisa is 5. Mandy, what's your number?
1.
Why does Alana have her camera off? we go.
And Leo, you're 10.
Michael's 9.
Monica, is Monica representing?
I think we might have to let that go, Chris. I don't know who Monica is. If she's,
I see her on my screen as well.
you see her as well.
I can't, it's killing me.
She
don't-
disappeared from my screen. Oh no, she's there. Monica Frund.
There she is.
I'm not representing.
That's okay. We'll stop your video. It's okay.
Thank you.
All right, it's nothing personal.
There
I
we go.
understand.
Okay.
Okay. And what about you?
Ellen.
Do you have a number, Alan?
No.
He said no.
No. Okay. Judy, do you have a number?
What?
Unmute.
Okay. I think I can hear you, Judy.
Eight.
8. Okay, Judy's 8.
Maybe you could put up your fingers on what your number is. Maybe it'll make it quicker.
Okay, there's a couple of people left.
It looks like
Jonine, what's your number?
8.
2, Dan. 2.
Anisa.
Anisa, I have.
What is it?
Anisa's 5. Looks like I still need 3 more people.
Margaret's 13.
I have
Margaret's
Margaret's 13. Chris, what's your number?
I don't know. I thought I was 5.
No, take another number. You have a choice of 6, 11, or 12.
I'll take 11.
Okay. 6 or 12, Chris.
I feel like I want to go last. But
Okay.
whatever's left.
Where is he?
Alana, what's your number?
I thought I was 8, but I see someone else has taken 8, so
6 or 12.
6.
Okay. And that leaves Chris 12.
So I would have all of you unmute unmute yourself if you are if you're representing. And that for some reason we thought you would all be on the same screen, but you're not. You're on different screens now.
I think it'll refresh.
It'll
and then
refresh.
they'll come
Okay.
together.
Cool.
I don't have a number on me. Does that matter? I'm 4.
Case 4.
All right. Great. We're in business. No.
Okay.
Can you all see everyone on one page?
Yeah.
Yes.
Really? Great.
Okay. You can, we're going to just have some quiet, and you can start representing, and the observers can also start representing.
So I'm going to invite everybody to stand. Those with your video off, those with your videos off, just take a minute to just drop in and represent yourself. Those representing, drop in and represent what your number is, what you feel you were assigned. Those representing yourself, observing and witnessing this constellation, just feel in your body, what is the intention you're holding? And just make contact with that intention.
What's your intention?
So I'm going to ask the reps to just hold. We're going to be working with the people witnessing you. So I just want you to just drop in kind of silently first before you you can push back. I think because we're working with so many people, I just want to hold a little bit tighter container than what we typically hold in our immersion calls. So just keep breathing, holding space, and being with this. Those that are representing yourself, witnessing. Feel for an intention around receiving the gift of this upheaval, around integrating the deeper message, around pivoting your life in alignment with your soul's evolutionary survival and purpose. And also source the possibility of this for you, that you'll walk away with something that you came for. I'm going to ask that the ones that are already representing just feel how you're also in relationship with the people that are witnessing and the people that are not on this call, that are trying to get in on the call but can't get in on the call. Just make contact with that as well.
the participants who are observing the representatives. You can just make contact with how much of your life has been disrupted, how many things you've let go of, and perhaps how you're noticing that some of the things that you let go of that you don't feel inclined to pick back up again. That not everything that you're not doing right now is missed. How this complete break in the normal and our return to a different relationship with the animal and microscopic world is shifting your own sense of identity, your own sense of purpose, and your own awareness of your own life. You can scan the representatives on the camera, make contact with them, and make contact with your relationship, because every one of us is in relationship with all 13 of these representatives. And take a few moments to just feel, how are you in relationship with each of these representatives?
If there were one you were standing next to, who would you stand there? There are ones that you're terrified of. What are you terrified of? Just feel your own physical response and enter the constellation from this first dimensional place. For those representing, as you feel these witnesses, participants entering your space, notice how your representation changes. So we're going to get reports from the representatives. I just want to clarify to the people that are listening, it seems there's a lot of chat going on around the video. The reason we have your videos off is not because we don't want you a part of this constellation. It's because we were trying to get everyone's video on the same screen.
So we're going to now get some reports from the representative. Number one.
I feel really calm. I feel very, very grounded. And I have this gesture with my arm that's like a gesture in which it feels like I can hold it. Whatever it is, I can hold it for you. I feel like in service of somebody or something.
Number two, can you report, please?
I feel a really heavy weight, and it fluctuates in between an overwhelming kind of grief but also almost a despair, and walking here in isolation, but coming back and checking in with other faces, I feel less alone, but still that I should be silent.
That is every person, meaning all of us who are on the call individually. And number one is
who's saying that? I would just ask you to mute yourself because we're trying to do a blind constellation. Okay.
Number 3, can you report, please?
I have a lot of frantic, aggressive energy. I feel as though I'm an animal in a cage trying to get out, but as people are coming to the screen, I'm jumping at the screen, just wanting to scare them away. Number 2, I just wanted to attack number 2 with any noise number 2 makes. And I don't like any noise. I need complete silence. All the noise is getting me like really aggressive and frantic and aggravated.
And just a reminder for all the participants, if you're not representing, to please mute your microphone so we don't have the background. Number 4, please.
I want to show you what I was fixated on. I don't know if it'll show well. I don't know if you guys could see the horse. I don't know if it shows, but I was looking at a painting with the horse with all these colors and very focused on the horse. And I was able to, the more I focused on it, I was able to ignore irritation, sounds. And then when you said there were others with us, when you said that, I felt goosebumps down my back and I felt held and I felt safer. But I'm feeling chills even now. But as soon as I felt people behind me holding me, I was able to look back at the screen and be able to connect.
Thank you. Number
I had a sharp headache that made me go to the floor, and I feel like trapped. Someone said animal. I don't know if I feel like an animal, but I feel a lot of anxiety, a lot of panic, and like really collapsing inside of myself. And when you talk about people coming to witness, I felt like I feel like them as like hooded ghosts, or like I feel scared, and like I feel it makes me have more panic, and I'm just trying to exist, just shaking a lot, and I'm feeling like hyperventilation, and yeah.
Thank you. Number 6.
So when you guys started the meditation, I could hear, and then my sound went out, and I couldn't hear anything that was going on until I went to the breakout room, and then my sound came back. And then when we came back in here, there was too much sound. My daughters came back in from a walk, and I had to bring myself into an enclosed room. And as soon as I got in an enclosed room, so I was struggling with, couldn't hear anything and then could hear too much. And I got in an enclosed room, and my anxiety just like skyrocketed. I'm cold and I feel shut in. And the more closer I come, I feel connected, but then I pull back and I'm just like chilled with anxiety and fear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 7.
So I just wanted to curl up in a fetal position on the floor. I just feel I had this beautiful, beautiful intention of, holding space as a light worker and holding truth and being in my power. And I just feel so drained, and I just have this pressure on my chest, and I'm so overwhelmed. I can't even get anywhere near my beautiful intention.
Thank you. Number 8.
I feel pretty calm. Mostly what I'm sensing is my physical being. I can't get enough water. I'm very thirsty, and suddenly gotten very cold. Everything seems quite annoying to me, except 10 and 11, because I feel like I have a relationship with them.
We're having trouble, number 8, we're having really trouble hearing you, and your video is not on.
Yeah, there was a lot of interference.
There was a lot of interference, so I might even have you drop off and come back on.
Well, you won't be able to get back in.
You won't get back in, actually. Yeah. I don't know. Just
I
see
can hear.
you could hear. Okay. Just notice that that number is the number we can't hear or see.
Both of them turned on.
Transmission.
Okay, I think we're
Got it.
going to keep going. This is just in the field. We're just going to keep going. Number 9.
I have a feeling of building restlessness. I just keep shifting back and forth like this. The image that comes to mind is that I'm like soldiers that are garrisoned in their headquarters or their barracks or whatever, and I haven't been called up yet, but I'm going to be called up. I'm going to need to exert force or some kind of authority or some kind of control of the situation, but it's not yet.
Thank you. Number 10.
When we broke out into the breakout, when we were put into the breakout room, it was like I felt I was on a lifeboat, and I was sizing up who was the next one to go overboard. It was only, and people were talking. It was like I felt really violent, and it was about survival. And when we came back into this room, it's there's a lot of doubt, and it's very difficult to stay embodied. There's a lot of vibration on my body, and I'm very judgmental and angry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11.
Most of the time I felt kind of paradox of compassion and indifference. And at times I felt like my feet were on the ground, but my heads were in the clouds, and everything seemed kind of like very small, like crawling around my feet. And the only kind of reaction that came was from number 10. Somehow number 10 caused the sort of feeling of being ill at ease, disturbed, agitated. And sometimes I felt like the left side of my body was like ill, the right side was fine.
Thank you. Number 12.
Pre-field, I was very calm. I've had problems with number 4, number 5, number 7. I have problems with. I feel so pre-field I was calm, and then once we were kind of numbers were applied and everything, and we were supposed to tune in, I got very sad. Like I felt like I wanted to cry. And then I had my back turned, and then you said, you know, I turned around once everyone was staring at me and felt good to turn around. And there's like an authority. I kind of feel like I have some kind of authority, or I'm better than everybody, but I also feel like a broken power. Number 10, I enjoyed a lot what he had to say and identified with a lot of it. Number 11 was like, get to the point. But once he started talking about what number 10 had to say, then I was excited to listen. But I just feel I'm cold, and I feel like I'm better than everybody else. I have a power and control, but it feels broken.
Thank you. Number 13.
I'm really cold and like freezing and feel very unsettled. I got very concerned. I couldn't see or find 12, and I thought 12 was gone. I just was really panicked about 12. 3 is really irritating me. I want to suppress 3 or strangle 3. I can't really see 2. I'm concerned with 2. I want to take care of them. Um, uh, I want to be shut in. I don't want to be seen by the people witnessing. I'm very concerned with the people who can't get in. When 11 was speaking, I got very concerned with like what was going on outside. Like, could something get in here? I started to get really fearful.
Thank you. So all the reps you're doing great. So for the other people on the call, just notice that all these reps, all they know is their number, and yet how in tune these representations are.
Eight said, I feel only bodily traits of coldness and restlessness, not overly emotional, just calm. Some annoyance at others except 10 and 11 because I have a relationship with them. 8 also said, I feel very connected to the witnesses and those who can't join the call.
So we're going to ask the representatives to just continue representing, and we're going to work with the other participants. We're going to take some steps with them, and we'll continue back with you in after the next step.
I think we're actually all going to take those steps. So we would invite the reps and those witnessing to step into the ancestral dimension. So, for example, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, when you're going to take some steps back and you're going to feel this same consciousness generations past in an older time. And those, is that covered? Yeah. And those that are witnessing, we invite you to also step back and represent your ancestors. First, your maternal lineage. Second, your paternal lineage. And just feel, what is their relationship to some of these themes that we named in the constellation. So you can take a couple steps back and just close your eyes, drop into your bodies, and feel as your grandmother, your great-grandmother, your grandfather or great-grandfather. What was it like in their time? And you can begin to drop in and pick a representative, an ancestor who's with you, who you're going to represent, or a tribe of ancestors.
You may be aware of ancestors who died from epidemics of mass disease in centuries past. You may feel their presence. You may feel yourself as a survivor, as a descendant of others who endured similar periods of mass disease and death. And you can allow yourself to drift back in time as far as the field wants to take you. And if you feel a multitude of ancestors that want to come in, or a kind of flip book or kaleidoscope of awareness, you can allow that to come in. Just welcome whatever comes into your awareness.
What ancestor struggled to breathe at a time in their lineage, in their life? What ancestors feared death? What ancestors watched loved ones die? What ancestors stewarded the earth and held a true purpose of being a medicine woman or man or person to their communities at large? What ancestors died of viruses used as weapons against them? Just drop into who's present. What ancestors sent out blankets with viruses, diseases in them? Perhaps you come from a lineage of animals from a prior life. What four-leggeds do you grow from, or winged beings do you grow from that you feel is a part of who you are? Make contact with that. I'm going to ask the reps that are numbered to come a little closer, not in time, but just in space so people can see you. I'm going to ask Representative 13 to report, can unmute.
First I stepped back like maybe 5 generations and just felt some kind of breathing lung disease of some kind. I don't really know what it was. And then step back further and dying of chicken pox. Everyone dying of chicken pox. And also famine, this horrible famine, and yeah, but I'm just kind of stuck in the chicken pox. Yeah, I don't know how much more you want to share. There's nowhere to go. Like there's no, there's just no way to get away from any of it. It's overbearing. It's painful. There's death everywhere. There's just death everywhere, like bodies everywhere. Rotting flesh, and nobody can do anything to help anybody else.
Get reports from everyone.
Can 13, can you mute yourself, please?
You don't have to, 13.
You don't have to. So we're going to ask you all to take another step back.
So we're going to move back beyond the ancestral into more of the archetypal or the mythic space, the kind of the universal space where these become kind of larger symbols of life experience, of planetary archetypes. And so for the participants who are representing themselves, you can kind of step back into a soul place of yourself, like not the individual human body that you're occupying, but the history of your consciousness, the history of your soul as it's evolved from generation after generation, and how the archetypes of everything that's being represented exists in relationship with you. And the representatives as well just kind of step back into a bigger, deeper, symbolic space.
So those stepping back into your soul, drop in. This is your soul. You're going to stand with your soul council. In some ways, your soul chose to incarnate or was guided to incarnate or arrived and was born on this planet. Whatever you believe, your soul is present in this body, but it's been alive for generations and generations and lifetimes and lifetimes. It has an evolution. Drop in and represent the part of you that can witness what's here with a wider perspective, a systemic perspective. That's here to answer the call of this earth, of its lineage. And representatives, step back. What does healing look like? And I'm going to drum and invite you to drop into what does healing look like for your representation? How far back do we need to go to know what does healing look like? What is the message of your representative that wants to be shared and seen, acknowledged, and honored today? We're not here to heal this. We're here to understand it.
What does healing look like? The way that one of our teachers, Don Gills, speaks of it is what connects what has been separated. Where is the movement of love and connection amidst all of the strife and violence that's so much a part of human experience?
Representatives feel what is the deepest message that's present for you, and we'll ask you to report at the end. What does your representation need to find its place, its movement? Soul beings on this call, why are you here? How is this the time you lived for? You've been working towards all of your life. How does your soul know this from another time? How is the wisdom within you? How is the family that you incarnated into? The family that can stand with you as you face this pandemic. Souls, look at your family. Look at the family that stands with you. Feel the pandemic in your bones, the history of your lineage that lives in every cell of your being. And feel your soul's purpose. How is that a constellation in and of itself? Your own soul, your own all-knowing body. As you witness these representatives, where do you stand? Find your healing movement. What does it look like? Where are you in this constellation? Where are your ancestors? Where would they stand? Where are the prior soul lifetimes? Where would they stand? Where is your place?
So we're going to keep reports from the representatives again from this place where we've where we've come to. Number one, can you report, please?
I feel like I'm holding an egg. It feels almost like I'm the nest in some way, and that I feel this deep understanding of an ebb and a flow, and wanting to an omnipresence, that I'm around all of it, but without judgment and with a lot of like white light. That's just, and I'm very attracted to number 4. I feel like if I could kneel at her feet, I would, but like next to her, not in front of her, next to her.
Thank you. We're going to reveal one by one who you are, because we actually want to improvise, so we end on time. So we're going to ask, we're going to unmute everybody. It's going to get really noisy, so just stay in your representations, take a moment. Number 1, representing the message of the earth and plant consciousness. And I would just want everyone to say, I see you.
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 I see you. I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
What did you tell my mom then? What did you then tell my mom?
I see you.
I see you.
See you.
I see you. No, because the camera's not showing.
Thank you. And number 2, can you report, please?
You have to unmute yourself. Maybe that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah. Going back to the potato famine and my Irish ancestors after the early settlers of Australia, my ancestors and their hardship, I went back to the Irish potato famine, and we are also in Australia have shortage of potatoes along with rice and pasta and toilet paper. And when I went all the way back to source, I opened my doors. So I'm sitting in, and I really had to open my doors, and it was a struggle. They're older doors. I really had to struggle to open one of the doors, but it was really important to open them and just to work that little bit harder to open it. And to walk out to, I look out on the ocean and the bush. And so for me, it's about connecting to nature. I feel nature and presence.
Thank you.
Thank you. So number 2, Jonine, you're representing, we just called you, you're representing every person on this call and all the people that wanted to be on the call.
When I stood at the doorway, I stood in the position of the universal man.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
And I'm not going to unmute everyone because that was a little chaotic, but I would just have you all say, I see you.
You.
I feel you.
I am you. Number 3, can you report, please?
Yeah, so as we were stepping back, I felt myself stepping back into the Native American ancestors with the times of dealing with the measles and the smallpox, the blankets that were given to them by the white people that came over. And, so I could feel all that, but I ended up stepping further back than that very quickly into a simpler time when the Indians were very tribal, one with and the trees, the animals. It was very peaceful, very calming. The silence was awesome. It was before anybody ever discovered America, and yeah, so it was a much simpler time. And there's a piece with that. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to drum the drums, and I kept looking at this photograph of an Indian painting a friend gave me, and with the mother and the child, and just, yeah, it was very, very, very cool, and very drawn to a tree. I have a tree in my window here. I don't know if you can see it standing up right behind it. So I was very drawn to that, almost as if I was the tree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're representing the pandemic, the global impact of the virus on humans.
Wow.
And
wow,
at least in New England, when the first Europeans came, the English, they came and settled New England in the 1600s. About 80% of the native people died from virus infections in the first generation.
And, just a reminder, the things that you spoke when you first spoke, or, I didn't say this before, but the earth said, I can hold it for you. Number one was one of the first things she said was, I can hold it for you. One of the things that every person on this call said was, I feel a heavy weight and overwhelming grief and despair. And you, as the pandemic, said, I feel like an animal in a cage trying to get out. The global impact on humans, this kind of aggressive, frantic attack. And it's, this is where you are in the far back. Thank you.
Number 4, can you report, please?
I feel calm. As soon as I stepped back into the field, I just felt very solid. And no particular country came through. I just really felt I didn't have to go back in time for the ancestors to be with me and in me. They came forward. And in fact, I had to look around to sort of orient myself as the ancestors were with me and say, where am I? And I kept getting, you're right where you need to be. You have everything you need. And it doesn't matter where I stand. I'm okay. And I felt like a rock, kind of very solid, and very resonated and felt good hearing number 1 speak.
Thank you. You're representing the coronavirus itself, the actual
Wow.
microscopic, which seems to make itself at home wherever it is. In most animals, it's symbiotic. It only becomes infectious in situations of toxicity. But it lives everywhere and survives very easily everywhere, and usually in symbiotic relationship with its host. So thank you. Number 5, could you please report?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Oh, hold on, Anisa, you're muted.
Can't.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. When I first stepped back, I felt like I was on a ship, and it felt like they were my ancestors who were like white colonizers of Africa, but I also felt like the indentured servants that were on the bottom of the ship. And then I also felt like ancestors that were African nurses that cared for people after war, but I really felt a lot of like England and Africa, like those two cultures when they have come together in different ways. And when Emily said for the reps to come forward, not in time, but just in position, something changed, and I like completely left that, and I really felt like I became a rock. Like I felt really calm and steady. And then as Emily asked us to go further back, I felt like I became a bird, and I felt like all I wanted to do was like caw and make sounds. And I really felt the return of bird tribes. And I feel quite isolated and disconnected from all the other representatives, except for 8. Like there's maybe some sort of call to 8, but I feel quite home or like center herself, something like this.
Thank you. So Anisa is representing the animals of the world, the source animals of this particular virus, the pangolin and the bat in China, but also all the other species of animals that are being eradicated by human encroachment everywhere on the planet.
I'm aware that, number 4, the coronavirus spoke of the horse and the colors and kind of irritations. And that number 5 spoke in the beginning also that the animal said that she felt trapped. She's animal anxiety, panic. When the people came to witness, she got scared. She's just trying to exist, shaking a lot, hyperventilation.
Number 6, can you report, please?
I think I want to just make one more comment before 6 reports on that. We're working with a lot of people that are feeling the effects of this pandemic, and it's kicking up their ancestral patterns of feeling mistreated, enslaved, trapped. In some ways, the way we've conquered the animal species, and we did to humans a long time ago.
Right. The slave experience, the English African slave experience is a dehumanizing one where the African slaves were turned into beasts of burden to serve as laborers for the enslavers. Number 6, please.
So when I stepped back into my ancestral field, I understood why I couldn't hear anything when you were doing the meditation and beyond, because I was turning a deaf ear and I was hard of hearing. I was standing in this privileged position of witnessing suffering of people around me, but my ancestors are, the British inheritors of the means of production in the Industrial Revolution. And so I felt this hardness, and my children are here having fun. And I also felt this annoyance with people having joy while I'm working hard to maintain the structure that's keeping our society together. And then when I stepped further back into the 3rd dimension, into the resource dimension, and I found I'm locked in my room, so I have all of my spiritual tools here, and I have the world in my hand. I feel like the great Mother, Father, Goddess with the world in my hand, and this chalice of the nourishing waters of the earth that purify us and set us free. And I'm feeling very comfortable in this role of the larger picture. And then I've shut my door, but you can see through, and I just heard my children running by, and they're making fun of me. So there's this part that I'm aware of the lack of understanding of the role of our ancestral and more mythical resources in the greater society, and still holding firm in the face of such ridicule that there is still a role.
Thank you.
So I would just, as she says this piece around making fun of me, my children are making fun of me. And as we hear her report, notice the part of you that insults, that critiques these type of ancestors in your own lineage and in yourself. The part of you that's actually having trouble putting down the to-do list and creating space for being during this time, this kind of humbling time of surrender. So number 6, you're representing your ancestors.
Number 7, can you report, please?
Yeah, so when you asked us to go back to our ancestors, I found myself just going back and back and back through everybody and through the pain and out the other side. I couldn't get far enough back through the wall. But really I was going back beyond anything human. I just went back to a space that just felt calm. And it wasn't an object and it wasn't human. I wasn't really clear what it was, but it felt like it was on solid ground. And then when you said to go back and connect with the soul lineage, then it became really clear. I just felt this sense of oneness and a deep sense of like holding for people. And in this sense that whether there's death or life, it's all the same. It doesn't matter which one. And we just need to step into connection with light, with our own power, with our own responsibility to make choices that are really aligned with who we are in our essence. And it just feels very peaceful, very calm, and very supportive energy.
Thank you so much. In the first representation, Tallis felt like she was curled up on the floor in the fetal position with no energy. She had a big purpose, but she wasn't able to fulfill it.
She was holding space as a light worker and felt overwhelmed. She couldn't get near her intention despite the purpose she held in her heart.
Mm-hmm. And you just heard what she just spoke in the healing movement. She's representing the people you love who die from the pandemic. So that's really exquisite, Tallis. And I hope everyone's able to take that in.
So I think because of time, we haven't said I see you after each person, but I would just take a minute in this moment to just recognize the reps we just passed through and just feel your own representation, yourself, your ancestor, your soul. And just acknowledge and see.
Number 8, can you report, please?
Oh, I can't hear you.
I put in the chat room just in case you can't hear me.
We still can't hear you.
Do you want to maybe call Emily on the phone and we can broadcast through the speaker on her phone?
She's typing in chat. If someone wants to read that, she's typing in chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Extremely cold now and great thirst. I stand with 1 and 7 because we share the same uniform now. Light and easy, great calmness came when I went far back. What has been disconnected is faith. I stand in faith. 5 looks beautiful to me. And now it just started to rain here in dry California. Keeping the faith that it will rain. Resources come when we need them. Keeping the faith.
Thank you. Number 8 is represented what is needed for human evolutionary survival.
And it's really important to notice that in the field we cannot hear her, and first we could not see her.
Number 9, can you report, please?
I felt really just a mourning about the losses and people's when they brought forth emotional things. I felt as I stepped back, I felt a sense of being a guardian, being a protector, being somewhat impersonal, but just wanting to protect the whole I lost the sense of aggression for the most part. I just felt like a universal soldier that goes into the common protecting of society.
Thank you. Number 9 is representing for each one of us your life path and soul purpose. We're embodied here for something, each different for all of us, but we're all this combination of our animal body and our brilliant consciousness for a purpose, and that's how that was just expressed.
When we work in the immersion program with regard to purpose, we oftentimes say we need to integrate our inner perpetrators, our colonizers, our conquerors, our patriarchs, our destroyers, those that can destroy and those that can create. And in this time, what we're finding is that the people that are reaching out to us are wondering, what is my place here? How can I show up? How can I bring my message, my mysticism, my call, my work forward? And so the way that that he showed up, number 9 showed up, I'm like a soldier, I'm marching. He kind of came in with a whole vengeance. There was a real yang energy. And here there's a kind of an integration. And it starts with just stepping back and calling in those ancestors, how to do this in a different way, how to arrive in a different way, how to heal and help and serve in a different way.
Yeah, and I could feel all those things you're talking about, and they didn't feel aggressive though in me. They felt like you're saying, integrated.
It's like you're ready for this.
Yeah. Thanks.
Number 10, please report.
So it's a report because as soon as we came back, I think when Emily turned on the microphones, it just it shifted somewhat. There's something really shifted out. I didn't feel any connection to the other representatives or in relationship to them. So as I went back, I was the guy in the ship that was deciding who was going to be the next one to go overboard. It was really survival of the fittest, and difficult to stay embodied in the energy that I had. And you said go back, and I had just thoughts of slavery, Irish potato famine or genocide, whichever one you want to call it. The Holocaust, just like as I took every step, there was another thing came, and my body was shaking. And it's difficult to, the rage and the grief, like it's like it's both and how do I tolerate that in my body, because it's like I really want to fucking hurt somebody. I feel so hurt, and how do I process it? But and it's not nice. It's not politically correct. It's not really presentable in normal human society. But there's like I really want to exhaust. I want to exhaust it. I want to get to the bottom of it. There's I can't do one or the other. It's not just grief. There is a violence. There is an urge to, like, some motherfucker is going to know about this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're representing humans as predators.
Number 11, can you report, please?
And so my representation became fairly complex at that stage. Let me go back to when 13 reported after number 12 did. When 13 came on to start a report, I found myself backing out of the room, and I ended up like against the wall. Like if I could have gone further back, I would have. But anyhow, when you went into the ancestral representation, at one point I felt this great stable maternal presence and love, and then on the other side of the ancestry, I felt like my body had just been mangled and shredded to pieces, And then you mentioned something about archetypes. So I moved from the mangled body to the maternal nurturing, and I moved kind of in the middle. And I think you mentioned archetype at that time, and I felt this kind of balance. So there's this sort of perfect balance of everything. And then at some point when I started to move forward again, I recognized how when the ancestors went from Western Europe to this land that's now called USA, I recognized that what we left Western Europe to escape, we recreated here. We left Western Europe because we wanted to escape the domination of the monarchy and the rulers, and we came here and we did the same thing to the native people. So we just recreated what we tried to escape. It's like very clear that you can't escape it. There's no escaping. But there is something else, but it's not done by escaping.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So number 11 is you're representing fear.
And I just want to, point out he felt when he says I just could have gone to the further back in the room when we work with constellations. Ellen's with us in one of our programs. The back is kind of, it fades out. It's like the far back is the third dimension. It's kind of found its rightful place. It's the origin. They would go to the far back if they were to access the origin of the sense. It's like the entanglement is complete. So he felt he could go to the far back when all-knowing spirit spoke. Whoops, I just released 13. Sorry. But when she spoke, he felt he could go far back. The other thing I want to just name is 8, extremely cold now. I'm sorry, 8 said, even though 10 is speaking, just moved, even though 10 is speaking of violence, I still love him. This is in the chat. And number 2, 10 speaks a deep truth to me. And then Humans as Predators says, from 10, thank you, 8. That's really what I need. My process of grieving includes rage.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just outed her.
Okay.
I'm gonna switch to 13 because I just outed her.
I just say something about fear.
Sure.
Also, is that the message of fear is that you try to escape from it, try to go. That's like a natural reaction of fear is to run away and escape. But you bring wherever you go, you bring what you're running away from with you. Okay. So we're going to skip to 13. Could you forward, please?
I actually didn't hear what I was outed as.
Oh, good.
Then just go ahead.
Wonderful.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm just going to report from like when I went all the way back, what I needed for healing. I feel responsible in some way, and for everything I walked through, for just what happens repeatedly in this kind of cycle of humanity, and what I need, or the healing movement, is exposure, reparation, atonement, and forgiveness. And I accept that this is something that has to happen, that needs to happen for some reason. Like there's some reason why this has to happen, but I'm not heartless to it. It's I'm heartbroken when every time it happens.
Thank you. So you're representing the all-knowing spirit that some people call God, perhaps. And that some people call the, the creator of this, this human form, with this great intelligence and consciousness within this animal body, and with a type of free will that is not seen in other creatures.
Can you unmute yourself for a moment? I can't unmute you. And just let that feeling come out. Just give it space. And I'm just going to ask everyone to just stand up for a moment. And just breathe and drop in. And just feel in your own body, what is your healing sentence? What would you say? How does this live in you too? How is the part of you, this a part of you as well? You can just say out loud whatever needs to be said.
I love you. I love you all. I love all of this.
Thank you.
Number 12, could you report, please?
A lack of self-confidence, just with this intention or not the intent, the representation, sorry. I couldn't really listen to any of the directions or trying to go back. It was even fuzzy getting those directions, but I felt more like a force kind of floating through everything. I've been very connected to the understanding of 8 and knowing, like, I could hear her. I trusted that she would be heard. And I was also very upset that for some reason you didn't change her number. You kept her as the number 8, which doesn't make any sense to me. That seems really foolish. And then the simple message is just, we can't go back. Like, that's just, I can't say that enough. Like, no matter what you want or think, we just can't go back to the way it was. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're representing love.
Interesting.
And, love is a creative force of eros and creation. And it's, we are forward moving creatures. Okay.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So we're going to do just one last closing movement, and then we appreciate you going over a little bit in time. You can stand again. And just represent your pandemic panic. And the reps stay the same as your representations. And just feel how it's changed on the call. And just thank the ancestors and the guides and the elements that came to be a part of revealing who's there with you.
The next few weeks, things are going to get probably more difficult for a lot of us. Logistically, Some of us are going to get sick. We may get very sick. We may run into the machine of the healthcare system. We may know loved ones who get sick and die from this. We're confronting either being alone or being too close with other people. It's going to be difficult for quite a number of weeks. And at the same time, we're actually here, that the people on this call and the people that weren't able to come, what's being drawn here are the people that want to meet, want to be able to meet the challenge in full humanness, to come to this situation in a kind of fullness that they've never experienced before, and to be able to take this, to be able to drop in and be more human than they've ever been.
So from this place, just a tool to take away from the call, as we welcome you to stand when you feel panic. Stand here, step back, and ask, who's with me? Whose panic am I feeling? And look, see them. And then take another step back and connect and merge with the great all-knowing spirit inside yourself. Welcome it to hold you. Take another step back and feel the earth you stand on and the earth of your ancestors. Take another step back and feel your soul that said yes. Yes to being here right now. Yes to holding space in this way that could hold your life path and soul path in the face of this pandemic. And just call in the lineage of where you come from and the lineage of all the lifetimes that you've known this. And hopefully the fear will dissipate and the truth will rise up and the love will create space and light for you. And then we're going to ask you to just take one step to the right. And look at the community that's around us, and we can actually turn our videos on if you'd like. When you're alone in your house and you're not seeing anybody and you feel like you're the only one feeling all these feelings that are coursing across our human race right now, breathe and remember the faces that are here, and remember the hundreds of people that wanted to be here, that you're not alone, that we're all standing here trying to feel the consciousness that wants to come through. We're all listening for the call of the earth. We're actually all wanting to rise up on another level and to be present to what wants to happen and how to get quiet. And you can just scroll all the pages and then close your eyes and just remember you have a community standing on both sides of you. And when you're standing here alone, kind of restless, take a step to the left or take a step to the right and close your eyes and remember who's here with you. You have a community across the globe of seeing with your hearters.
And, you know, also to the healthcare workers who are risking their lives, showing up for work every day, to the Amazon people who are bringing food and packages to our doors so that we're not going out, but they're touching everything all day long. And to the other people in our community that might not have these resources, might be just locked into a TV station and getting all their information from a TV station that exists to sell them things and gears the information. towards the interests of the advertisers, and include them also in your circle and in your compassion.
We'll just put our hands on our hearts, just take a deep breath in, deep breath out. And just invite yourself to take a step forward, to commit to the movement that you felt in your heart with that step. A step in, a yes, maybe a bow. Maybe there's a physical movement of opening, like how to integrate, how to welcome.
And feel how much you're already doing. Nicole, with your music, Kay, with your work with animals, with wolves and horses and other animals. I don't want to be like the woman on Romper Room calling everybody out, but those are just two examples. We're all doing a lot. You're all doing everything possible to meet this, to be a human being today. And to show up to your life and to your loved ones and to strangers in the best way possible, and acknowledge, the beauty of the life that you're living, even with the burdens that you're carrying.
I invite you to kind of shake off the representations and